Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Gritty Hour. I'm here, we're trying every aspect of my establishment. I'm going to try to get the whole store in the background on the various podcasts.
I don't blame you.
It's a marketing scheme,
Marketing is marketing.
Yes. I'm here with Phil Manzi. You've seen him before in an earlier podcast. In fact, this is your third time around.
It is.
First, one of the first podcasts we did was about a year ago. You discussed your time over in Vietnam, your time in the Navy, and you came back again and talked about growing up here in Millbrook, New York, which is where we're physically located.
With my time I spent with Mr. Leary and the time I met James Cagney.
Yes, so I refer you to some of our earlier podcasts if you want to see Mr. Manzi a year younger than he is now. So was I.
I just turned 76.
Oh, God bless you. God bless you, lad. Many, many more to you.
Thank you.
We're recording this on the 1st of September, 2022, which I was told this afternoon, the person leading the country is supposed to give a major speech tonight about the certain elements of our population that he doesn't care for.
You mean the person they say is leading the country?
Yeah. The one that sits in the Oval Office.
Right. The ones that the actual whoever does the recording on the monitor is running the country.
Yes. So I'm told he's going to make an anti-MAGA speech. But by the time this comes out, maybe it's not as bad as the way they're portraying it to be.
Perhaps.
Time will tell. That's post-Guinness, though. So welcome to the Gritty Hour, Mr. Manzi. It's good to have you back again, lad.
It's me.
And again, happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
So what's going on in your world?
Well, actually, being retired, I sold 2 of my properties, so I have 2 less headaches. And my wife and I just go out to lunch 3 or 4 times a week.
That's a beautiful thing.
And I relax and take care of my little couple acres down in Stormville.
Now, you just told me before we started recording you sold some stocks today.
I did. 2 days ago.
Are you just bearish on the market, or?
Well, my financial advisor was at my house, and we went on the inner tube to, and they asked me what was my dog's first name, what was the first car I owned, and I got right up to here. So I said, Peter, sell everything. It was just a headache.
So you got aggravated and you told him screw it.
I said, pack it in.
What is your dog's first name?
My first dog?
Yeah.
Tiny.
Oh, was it a big dog?
No, a small dog. Actually, it was my brother's pet dog, but we sort of shared him.
So you got out of the stock market for no other reason than you were frustrated and trying to get into your online account?
Right. And then things are a little bit shaky anyway. I'm a gold buyer, and that's down at below 1,700 today.
Yeah, I was saying before, I used to work on Wall Street, and you could always count on when the market went down, gold would go up, and vice versa. But it doesn't seem to be the case anymore nowadays. I don't understand the economy anymore. I don't understand the stock market anymore. I don't understand anything anymore.
Commodities had a bad day. They say it's because the dollar is strong.
I can't see how the dollar would be so strong.
It's the tallest midget in the room.
Because taxes are going up, inflation is going up.
There's over $300 trillion of worldwide debt.
And how much percentage of that belongs to the United States?
We have about $40 trillion, and they say that doesn't count federal liabilities, federal pensions, Medicaid, Medicare, all the rest of it.
All right, so let me go out on a limb. What kind of a job do you think former Vice President Joe Biden is doing?
It's horrible, and it's in my opinion, it's not it's by design. I think that the Marxists are taking over Washington, and their goal is to destroy this economy and then destroy our culture. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it looks like it's so bad that it has to be by design. Can't be a mistake.
Mhm.
I think Eric Holder and Susan Rice are running the show, and Joe Biden is a marionette.
Hmm.
He was picked. They knew he was compromised. They knew he had dementia before he ran.
He's the worst dancing marionette I ever saw.
Horrible.
Mm.
So I think we're in trouble.
Mm-hmm. And where do you see a way out?
I don't see a way out. I think the radicals in the 60s didn't disappear. They went into colleges and universities, and they've been brainwashing 2 generations of young people.
More than 2, I would think.
And 3. That's what I think. Free market capitalism has provided a better standard of living for more people than any other form of economics.
That's been proven as a
I've
fact.
been to Venezuela. It's a horror. People in Cuba are starving. They can't even make good cigars anymore. They can't get fertilizer.
Yeah, what's the story with all that fertilizer story? The same thing happened in Sri Lanka.
Well, it's the green New Deal. That's what they're trying to push.
Hmm.
Without fertilizer, you can't feed the population of the world. I don't believe. I mean,
But what are they supplanting it with something? I don't know. You educate me. I'm not sure. I know enough.
well, it's this in Sri Lanka. The people are starving. The same things happen in Luxembourg, right?
Are they supplanting the fertilizer with something else?
Well, they don't want to use it because it's not green.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get crop yield without fertilizer.
Mm-hmm. So they're just growing crops without fertilizer. Is that what it's called?
And the cigar deal in Cuba is they can't afford fertilizer. So and they don't have Connecticut wrappers like Cuban cigars used to have. They're not as good as they used to be. They're terrible.
So tell me more about your theory. The one thing I do know, I heard a couple of weeks ago, Bill Gates is now the single biggest owner of farmland in the United States.
True story. And China's probably second.
I don't understand. Do you have any inkling as to why? Is he just likes farming? I had a pension for overalls.
I don't understand. He's a globalist. All these big YouTube, I mean,
Tech giants.
tech giants. They're all globalists. The guy from Facebook, what's his name?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg. He wants China because there's 4 billion people, 4 billion customers of his. He spent a $500 million on the last election.
Yeah, just under it. Yeah.
And the FBI purposely squashed the story about Joe Biden's son. That 47 intel agencies said it was Russian.
A Russian hoax.
A Russian hoax.
Yeah.
And it's not true. It was started by Hillary Clinton. The Mueller report. They probably spent $30 million on the Mueller report. It was a complete fraud. They brought stuff to the FISA courts that they knew was a lie.
Well, you reminded me. What do you think of the Mar-a-Lago raid?
Well, it's difficult to understand. So the only thing I can do is listen to somebody that I trust, that I think might know what's going on, like Dershowitz. I never liked Alan Dershowitz, but he's a smart guy. And I listen to his slant because I think he knows what's going on. How can you tell? Every day they're leaking stuff every day. Somebody said that what they were after was the hurricane. What is that? The whole hoax. He had proof.
Oh, Crossfire Hurricane.
Crossfire Hurricane. And that's what they were after. They were after his proof. He had written proof that this thing was a hoax, and he could prove it.
That's Eric Holder, right?
Yeah.
Now, well, there's no proof that he's right either.
Yeah.
I mean, where is he getting his info from? Is he just talking out his
Dershowitz?
ass too? A lot of people talking out their ass. You got to be careful.
I know it. So I say, the only thing I can do is that Turley, that scholar,
Mhm,
John Turletts or Turleys.
mhm,
He's a smart guy, and you got to pick one person you trust and kind of go with them. I'm not saying 100%. Nobody knows what they were doing.
mhm.
It was obviously political. They want to get Trump no matter what. They are so afraid of Trump running and winning that they will eat their children. There's nothing they will not do to
Mhm.
make. They've been after. Look at the first State of the Union that Trump gave. Nancy Pelosi stood up behind him and tore it up. Is that unity? Is unity Joe Biden calling mega supporters fascist?
Mhm.
That's insane.
Mhm.
70 million people voted for Trump,
Mhm.
and he's calling them fascist.
Well, again, what do you think is the answer to all of this?
I think they have won,
Mhm.
and I don't think the midterms are going to solve anything. I think they won. I think the Marxists have taken over, and the free market is gone. I'm a doomsdayer at heart, but
You'd never know it.
I hope I'm wrong. I don't have any children myself, but my nephews, my nieces, excuse me. I hope I'm wrong.
Mhm. Well, I always believed in. I think we can both agree that Jimmy Carter wasn't one of the better presidents we've ever had.
He was not.
But I think if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have had Ronald Reagan.
That could be
More
possible.
locally, I think I don't think Rudy Giuliani would have ever gotten elected mayor of New York City if it wasn't for David Dinkins.
Good point.
So sometimes when there's glaring ineptitude, which I can agree to a large extent of the ineptitude that's out there, sometimes the pendulum swings back and you get yourself out of a pot of boiling water by
Like I said, I hope
hunkering
I'm
down and getting the right person in there.
wrong. I think that if
I'm not sure Trump's the right person though.
listen, I don't. Trump's an easy guy to dislike,
Mhm.
but I voted for Trump because he made America energy exporter. He made France and Germany and Italy and all these European countries pay their fair share in NATO. He reduced regulations to make American businesses more competitive on the world market. And no Marines lost their legs. We didn't get involved in any wars in his 4 years. That's why I voted for him. Is he a braggadocious? Does he calls people? He's like a cement mason from Queens. He calls people's who's crooked Hillary. I mean, that's not necessary to call people names, right? Fathead.
Mhm. He wouldn't call anybody fathead.
No, I wouldn't, but I'm saying some people do. So I think if Trump had been the president, Putin would not have went into the Ukraine.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that invasion?
Um,
I get nervous when there's lock, stock, and barrel behind one particular side. And it always disturbed me that we're quick to send arms over there. We're sending not one diplomat to help resolve the situation over there.
just talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
That's a good point. And you have to remember that the Ukraine is the most corrupt country in Europe. It was a place where the Democrats laundered money for the last 25 years. And there was some Washington bigwig on television when this thing first started said that we had chemical biological laboratories in the Ukraine. If China had biological laboratories in Mexico, we might invade Mexico,
It's
right?
probably the same guy that said Iraq had weapons of mass destruction.
Yes, and 47 intel agencies went along with that, but they also said that this Trump was a Russian agent.
Mm.
They were wrong. 47 were wrong.
Mm-hmm. Makes you wonder what they do. It makes you wonder why we need 47.
And why do you call them intel agencies?
But why do we need that many? there's not a hell of a lot of intelligence coming out of there.
Biggest problem in Washington, in my opinion, are these unelected bureaucrats. Christopher, the head of the FBI, Christopher Wray,
Yes.
he's worth $23 million. How did a man with a $150,000 job amass $23 million?
You could say that about Speaker of the House.
Yes. Well, hers is insider trading. But what Ray did, Ray went to work for a defense contractor, and they paid him $9 million, and they gave him $8 million when he departed as just a bribe.
See you on the other side of the hallway. See you on the other side of the hallway.
It's like a guy in Washington's got a $3 million house, and somebody buys it for $9 million.
Mm.
Just a kickback.
You mean like Hunter Biden's artwork?
Something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's a very gifted artist, though.
Gifted man. We are a corrupt nation. The public treasury has become the public trough.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's always been since the British left.
You asked me why every place you see on side of trucks, help wanted. Every place you go, help wanted. It's because the merchants and the private sector is in competition with the federal government. Free food, free housing, free college. Why get a job?
Mm-hmm.
Who needs a job? Free money.
Mm-hmm.
This thing that I wanted to read you.
Yeah, go ahead and read it.
It's I'll just blur through it.
No, read it.
It's about. Oh, my hearing aid went on. Excuse me. If a guy had a house, he had amassed enough money in his life to get a house.
What is that though? What is that you're reading?
I don't know. Somebody sent this to me. This is about the new American way of life.
Okay, hit it.
If a guy has a girlfriend. They have 2 kids, but they're not married. But he's got a house. He keeps his mother's address. The guy buys a house. He rents the house to his girlfriend with her 2 kids. Section 8 gives her $900 a month for a 3-bedroom house. The girlfriend signs up for Obamacare, so the guy doesn't have to pay any family insurance. Girlfriend gets to go to college because she's a single mother. She's a single mother. Girl gets $600 a month food stamps. Girlfriend gets free cell phone. Girlfriend gets free utilities. The guy moves stays at his mother's house. Girlfriend claims 1 kid, and the guy claims the other kid on their tax form. So there's an $1,800 credit each. The girlfriend gets $1,800 a month disability for having a bad back. The plan is perfectly legal and is being executed by millions of people. So who wants to go to work? What are you going to go to work for? People get unemployment insurance in New Jersey, $650, $680, $700 a week. Works at a bar 2 nights a week, sells a little weed. Guy's making $1,100 a week, and he's sitting on a stool.
What do they do in the unemployment? That befuddles me that so many places are looking for employees. What do they do when the unemployment runs out?
They might get a job and work for 29 weeks or do something. I know guys. I was in construction. I know guys that as soon as they had their weeks in, they asked to get laid off.
And
They were getting $550 a week on unemployment, working a couple of days on the side.
So it's been going on a long time.
Forever.
Mhm. Well, that's my point. The trough has been there. It's a lot bigger than it used to be, but it's been there since.
It's bigger.
Yeah.
You know, and a guy in unemployment, before unemployment, he might have been sitting home thinking about, geez, maybe I should think of this. I'll invent this. This will be an easier way to do this. But he's not, because he's on the grub. He's getting $600 a week doing nothing.
You can't fault him.
No. Wouldn't you rather stay home and drink beer and go pour concrete?
Mhm.
That's not hard to figure out. Pouring concrete's hard.
Mhm.
Getting up before. I used to live in Millbrook.
You ever see the movie Going My Way?
Yes.
There's a scene with Barry Fitzgerald and Bing Crosby has this wayward girl. She ran away from home or something, and she wanted to be a singer in a club. And he introduces her to Barry Fitzgerald, who was the Monsignor or the parish priest. And Bing Crosby says she's looking for work. And Barry Fitzgerald says, "Oh, we'll find some place for her. You know, we can have her do some odds and ends." She goes, "Oh no, Father, I'm going to be a singer." He goes, oh, so you'd rather starve than put your brew. I don't understand how people can not work.
I used to drive from Millbrook to Kennedy Airport, 96 miles. Every day, get up at 4:30, drive to Kennedy Airport, pour concrete, get home 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Did they want you to? Or you just did it?
Who want me to?
The Kennedy Airport.
I was working for a contractor, you know.
Yeah, I'm only kidding you.
It was a long drive, but I was making a lot of money. You know, I was brought up to go to work.
Yeah, I don't understand, like a kid just graduating from college, as an example, that's not working. I don't understand how you could not work.
I don't know. I had a job since I was 13 years old.
I mean, yeah, a friend of mine once told me, all work is glorious when you're unemployed. It doesn't matter what the job is, you know,
Yeah.
you can't stay home. You gotta go out and work.
Can't do it. When I was a kid, I worked for my uncle. I worked 6 days a week, $1 an hour, made $48. I gave my mother $15 rent. And my father said, if you think it's too much, there's the door. I asked him for allowance. I said, geez, my friends get allowance. He said, you're eating your allowance. The dinner. It's the wrong time to ask him.
Well, how was the meal? Good?
Not bad. It was hot.
Mhm.
So I thought you're supposed to work.
Well, yeah, that's the way it used to be taught, yeah. There's a lot of young kids out there that are busting their ass going to work.
I don't.
There's an abundance of those who look into ways to not. I don't understand it.
I don't understand America anymore.
But there's a lot of kids out there that are working their ass off, even as we speak.
Yeah.
I'm getting tired just thinking about it.
Me too. I wish the one thing I miss about being 76 is that I can't work. I wish I could go to the city and work 2, 3 days a week, pour concrete. If I had one wish, that's what I would wish, that I could still work. They laugh when I put my boots on. I can't even move. Can't get up on the deck. I'm tired every time I get up there.
You think about working and your body laughs at you, right?
Yeah.
And where the hell you going?
I would be nothing I like more than I can go to work a couple days a week.
Well,
Not every day.
you do have, you were, fortune did smile on you in your time.
I'm a lucky man.
Hmm.
I've never been hungry. I've never been out of work. Always something good came to me.
Well, sometimes you gotta make your own luck, you know?
It means, when you're lucky, it means that God loves you.
God loves you. Sometimes you have to make your own good luck.
The harder I work, the luckier I got.
That's my point, yeah.
And my mother always taught me to save my money.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand kids today. I don't understand football players can't have to kneel for the national anthem. When I think of 7,000 Marines died at Iwo Jima, so they can make $150,000 a game, and they can't stand up for those guys. That just
Do you follow football?
no. I haven't watched a pro football game in years, 3 or 4 years.
Are you boycotting it, or you
I
just lost your?
just lost my interest in it, because
How about baseball? You follow baseball?
I like baseball.
Mhm.
You know why I like baseball? Because you can fall asleep for 2 innings, wake up, doesn't matter. Football,
2 innings, that's a good nap, the way baseball goes.
tackle football has become spirit football. You got super athletes that can run 60 miles an hour, and they're trying to kill one another.
It's kill the guy with the ball. It's
And they
like
can't-
Irish rugby. Do you ever Irish football?
I was watching rugby. I never saw one before. That's a peculiar game.
That's kill the guy with the ball.
Kill the guy with
That's
the
all
ball.
it really is. Yeah.
And
Pile on, boys.
Australia was beating America real bad. I don't understand this. So
I have the first inkling.
it's like what's that British game? Cricket.
Back in the Bronx, where they used to have the matches in what's the name of that stadium in Jesus. Anyway, I never went. I never had a desire to go.
Rugby.
Yeah, rugby, Irish
Yeah,
football.
when I lived in Carmel, there was a league in Carmel. I never understood it.
Hmm.
I used to like.
It was way too close to the bar. The temptation diverted me.
You can't have anything that close to a bar. Everybody would be in a bar, right?
Yeah. I'm a nonviolent guy, man. I went right to the bar. Well, so getting back to at my own risk, politics. What do you think this guy's going to say tonight?
He's going to demonize Trump supporter.
Hmm.
What's he
Seems
gonna
like that's what the.
What's he going to talk about? The economy?
Well, he might,
How well inflation is.
you know.
Gas. Putin drove gas prices up, but Biden's bringing them down.
I don't understand the loan forgiveness thing. I don't understand, like, the people who went to a trade school or the people that paid off their loans, what the hell do they get?
It's very
Or the people
simple.
that didn't go to college at all?
It's very simple, Thomas. He's buying votes. It's like when you run for sixth grade president. In the sixth grade, you give out ice cream.
Hmm.
It's buying votes. And if these kids had degrees in
Engineering?
engineering degrees, I would say, well, maybe. But they got degrees in 13th century European lesbian poetry or gender studies. What the fuck is that?
I love those books. Oh,
I don't know. And so he's buying votes. They say it's gonna cost $1 trillion. Look at,
but that's just gonna add to the inflation. Somebody's gotta pay for
of
that.
course, there's only one
If the
thing.
government's lending you money and then someone says you don't have to pay it back, then that's the taxpayer that's footing the bill.
Only one thing causes inflation. It's not unions. It's not the oil company. It's not big business. It's printing money. And his solution is print more money.
Well, we printed a hell of a lot of it during the pandemic. And some
That's
of it
right.
is, some of it was necessary.
I don't believe it. It's a tough time. Get over it. You'll get over it. And when you come out of it, you're not $40 trillion in debt. You know how long? I asked you this before. You know how long? You know how much $1 trillion is? You know how long a trillion seconds is?
32 years it would take you to count it?
27,000 years is 1 trillion seconds. And we're $40 trillion in debt. That can't be paid back.
Hmm.
Why don't we just load up containers and send them to China with $100 bills on them?
I don't know if they'll still want the American dollar.
Probably not.
Yeah.
And how about if the Chinese currency becomes the reserve currency in the world?
It's making some inroads. There's no question
You
about
can
it.
take all them $100 bills. I see that big pile you have in the bank there. What are you gonna do with them?
I know they're investing a lot in Africa, the Chinese, on the African continent, in various countries.
In the Congo, they're mining cobalt for batteries.
Hmm.
It takes about 26 pounds of cobalt for a car and a battery, and they're using slave labor, child labor to mine it.
Well, everything that they have because we allowed them to have it. I mean, I think I might have mentioned in the past, I remember when Nixon went to China in the 72, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Kissinger and the whole crew. Everybody in Beijing was riding a bicycle. And then when whoever the hell else went back there, Obama or somebody, everybody's driving a car. And they're having smog alerts and.
And I think
We gave them most favored nation status, even
Right.
though ideologically we're supposed to be against their rule of government, their form of government.
form of economics.
And we added them to the World Trade Organizations.
Correct.
So that's the only two keys they needed.
They got the pesos, so they got the say-so.
I remember Google, you were talking about tech wanting to get in there. I remember Google tried to get into China and were rebuffed.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think Google is available in China.
They're going to own the world.
Well,
Although they're having big inflation problems themselves. You know, people in China wanted to be like Americans. Europeans want to own a house. That's how they were going to get rich. So they put money down to buy a house, and the banks didn't start building. They just bought more property to do more. And now the banks are foreclosed. There's tanks in front of banks. They can't get their money out.
mm-hmm. Well, the people that tell me China is going to surpass us as a global leader, I remember having this conversation 30 years ago about Japan. You know, Japan was buying Rockefeller Center, and Japan was the biggest blah, blah, blah. You know who the biggest foreign owner of real estate in the United States is?
China?
Great Britain.
Is that right?
Yeah. But anyway, even then didn't sound right. And of course, Japan staled out. And I think China's on the verge of staling out too. They have an age problem similar to ours. For a long time, China had a one child per family policy.
Correct.
And they don't have that anymore, but they're going to have to reap what they sowed with that one-child policy. They're just on the cusp of it now,
Catching up on them.
where their population, the age of their population is increasing very rapidly, more rapidly than ours.
Like a year at a time.
That pause button's right here, my friend.
Yeah, well, look at
No, but they do. They have an age problem that's more acute than our aging problem in
Correct.
terms of the population. And it's primarily due to that one-child policy. You think a one-child policy in this country would ever fly?
I went with the no kid policy.
And how come no offense to my Muslim friends, how come there's no up in arms about the anti-Islam arm of the Chinese government? Where they rounded up all these Muslims and sent them away to a concentration camp. How come there's nobody flying planes into Beijing?
Uyghurs. It's a good question.
Well, I mean, get going.
Okay.
I mean, as someone who was there on 9/11, I don't see no planes flying into Beijing.
You're a good point. I don't think you see where a Muslim father just killed his two daughters because they were dating American guys.
Okay.
Bringing they were probably the wrong. They would have killed them if they weren't the right sect of Islam. But tell me, why are we letting all these people? Why are we Biden's let 4 million people in this country?
Joe Biden?
Yeah.
Well, his press secretary said they're not.
She doesn't know her last name. She wasn't picked because she knows anything. She's picked because
she said they're not coming over the border.
I know.
So I believe it.
Yeah. Okay. She wasn't picked because she's smart, like Jan Psaki. Jan Psaki is probably the smartest person in Washington. She was picked because she's a minority immigrant lesbian. That's why she was picked. She had got that many boxes checked, and they gave her the job.
You think so?
Yeah. Why would she? She's not smart. She doesn't know what's going. She doesn't know people are coming across the border.
You know, they got rid of that guy on CNN. Can't remember his name. What's his name? The bald guy.
Oh, Seltzer.
Yeah, they got rid of
Brian
him.
Seltzer.
And I hear what's his name is job's on the line too. The guy with Meet the Press.
Yeah, I heard that too.
I think CNN is trying to
Jake Trapper?
No, that's not the guy.
It's not Jake Trapper?
No, the guy that does Meet the Press. Jake Tapper is a guy on CNN, but I think they're trying to get to the point where they garner more than 50,000 views per show.
Yeah, I think they went too far to the left.
If your ratings fall below MSNBC, that should be a wake-up call for you.
Or reruns of Mayberry.
Now, I haven't watched cable TV, Fox, CNN, MSNBC. I haven't watched any of that in 6 years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I watched the first 20 minutes of Tucker. I think he's a bright guy. I think he's right on point. I watched the first 20 minutes of that. And then I watch baseball games. Read or listen to music.
Do they kneel for the national anthem in baseball?
You don't have it. They have a, and the Yankees have in the seventh inning have a small segment memorial to a veteran.
They used to sing "God Bless America." I think they did away with that.
No, they sing that at the seventh inning.
They do?
Yes.
Kate Smith version?
No,
I remember there was something to do with Kate Smith. I don't know.
Robert Merrill's version.
Mm-hmm.
But I emailed the Yankees. I said I have a cousin of mine who's 97 years old. He'd be a perfect candidate for the seventh inning tribute to a veteran. But they never got back to me.
Mm.
Maybe they have them all.
I met that gentleman. He lives here in Millbrook.
He called me on my 76th birthday Saturday. He called me and wished me a happy birthday. And he said, "Your wife's birthday is tomorrow, isn't it?"
Not sharp as a tack still.
97 years old. I forgot my wife's birthday. He didn't.
Yeah, he's a good man. I think I spoke to him at your house briefly.
For lunch.
He was in Europe, correct?
No, he was in fact,
Pacific?
he was on a destroyer at Guadalcanal.
Oh, interesting.
Nice man. Right out of high school, went in the Navy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Guadalcanal was the first step.
He was on a few of those islands, bombing, supporting the Marines.
Yeah, well, Guadalcanal was the first place we
That was a big first.
started coming back, yeah. Because we got our ass kicked for the first 6, 7 months of that war,
And after
at least
that,
in the Pacific.
we had better planes, and we started beating them.
Well, yeah. Mhm. Yeah. So take us out of this morass that we're in. Jimmy Carter called it malaise. I don't know what this guy's calling it.
It started with FDR.
Mm-hmm.
They were the first real bad. Well, maybe Woodrow Wilson, but FDR put the final clamps on it. You know, we have Social Security, but you know, every day millions of dollars are taken out of the business world and put in Social Security, and politicians use it to buy votes. For instance, the food stamp program wasn't started to feed people; it was started to buy votes. And every day, billions of dollars go into Social Security when it could be going into infrastructure, new factories. So everything you buy is not made in China; it could be made in Detroit.
Well, when you say going into Social Security, when you work, you pay into Social Security.
Yes, but that money could be better used. I don't need the government to save my money.
Mm-hmm.
It could be used to build our industry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know,
There's a lot of people that rely on Social Security.
Well, that's because they were poor savers. The first lady that collected Social Security was a school teacher in Maine, and she put in $22. She may have been the last 8 years of her working life, or 10 years.
Right.
And it would take out $3.90 then, and she ended up taking out like $2,200. So I was a cement mason, not an economist. But how does that work? How does it work when you put in $22 and you take out $2,000?
Mm-hmm.
It's a Ponzi.
Well, at the time and up until the 60s, the rate of workers to retiree was much greater than it is now. I think we're at 2 to 1, two
Right.
workers for every retiree.
So it's going to collapse.
And it's getting more acute as the population ages.
You said that was cute?
You're adorable,
Oh,
but
thank
it's getting more. It's getting harder as the population
Correct.
ages. So that's really where the stress is in the Social Security system. I think fundamentally it's a decent system if the age problem wasn't a factor.
And if politicians weren't grabbing it and using it for other things.
Especially post World War II, when we had the baby boom, there were a hell of a lot of workers versus retirees then.
I'm against it, but if they would give me all my money that I put in Social Security and give me what the market would have made since I started work at 14, I'll give them back what they gave me. Just give me that.
Well, there's the other side of the coin, the people that die before they even take any of the money out.
Their families don't get it.
Well, I think the spouse of the person who dies, you get that level. So if your
Right.
spouse made more than you get that spouse's
Right.
level. Or they, paid in more.
But look at everybody.
But in general, if, like a single man who dies, say he works his whole life and dies at 65, he's not, all that money is forfeited.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just one thing. There's Section 8 housing. There's aid to dependent children. There's aid to dependent fathers. There's hundreds of programs for people.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the greatest country in the world.
Yeah. Well, if you can't, why do I have to feed your kids? Why do?
Because they're hungry, Phil.
People used to go to borrow money from their grandfather, their uncle. They borrowed from a bank. They went to college. The government got in the student loan business, and it's a $1.7 trillion boondoggle. It's $1.7 trillion in debt.
Which one?
The student loan program.
Oh, the student loan program, yeah.
That's more than the GDP of hundreds of countries.
Well, someone who I trust, I won't name his name, but said that and he's an educator. Out of all the people that go to college, 80% of them shouldn't go to college.
Correct.
And I think part of the problem, there has to be a refocus on what career path people take.
Right.
You know, if you're going to college to delay adulthood and you're studying philosophy, your only option is really to write the best book in history or become a teacher.
Right. That politician, Elizabeth, one that says she's an Indian, what was her name?
Elizabeth Warren.
Liz Warren, said, these kids just can't afford this. Schools have become so expensive. It's astronomical to go to college. And here's a lady who taught 2 courses at Harvard, and she made $400,000 a year.
Well, education is a fundamental problem in my book, as far as I know.
If you want your kid to go to college, you make the sacrifice, not me. You don't have your annual hives to Disneyland. You don't have your second car, your 5th television. You make the sacrifice. They're your kids. Why should I sacrifice? I can't afford gas for my Ferrari because I got to send your kid to college. What kind of fairness is that? That's bullshit. You had the kid, you get all the joy from him, you send him to college. You feed him, you clothe him. None of my business. Correct? If I take care of the HUD program was more effective when churches and neighbors were helping people. Now, when you see a guy in Louisiana at the hurricane, he's pouring gas in a generator, there's 5 people in Washington ordering gas cans. Horse shit. When somebody works for the government, they're not adding to the GDP, they're taking from it. They're not producing anything. They're taking yours and mine.
I remember the Speaker of the House saying, every dollar spent on unemployment generates $1.50 of economic stimulus.
Why don't we just drop money from airplanes?
Well, it's kind of an asinine thing to say, but people used to give a crap about the debt, national debt. It doesn't seem to be a major focus anymore.
You ask the average person, not 1 out of 100 people will tell you what our national debt is. I saw a girl tell me, they asked her what century it was, and she didn't know.
It used to be big news when it went up. Now it's just, I hate to say this, but I'm of the opinion that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are the same party.
Same party.
It's the same people. They all going to the same end.
It's a game they want to make you think they're different, but they're not.
Yeah, it's a shell game.
But George Wallace says it's not a difference for the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans.
We just bombed Syria last week, right? It's the 3rd administration in a row to bomb Syria. Does that indicate a continuum of what's really going on? There's an agenda that has nothing to do with party in Washington.
And that's what Eisenhower warned us of, the military-industrial complex.
I assume you're a Trump supporter.
Yes.
I'm not really, but if there's anybody that's out of that system, it would be him, and that might be a reason for all the crap that's going on. Mar-a-Lago raids and this and that and the other thing.
They don't want him in there.
Anti-MAGA speeches,
Trump's only crime was it wasn't his turn and he was an outsider. Here comes this guy from New York that was pouring concrete, building buildings. Who's this guy? What the fuck's he going? It's Hillary's turn. He's got no business. He wasn't a senator. He wasn't a congressman. It's not his turn.
He didn't pour 1 ounce of concrete. I can guarantee you that.
I worked for Trump one time.
Maybe he poured coffee while they watched the guy pour concrete.
No, but he was the boss. He was writing the checks. The difference between Joe Biden always signed his check on the back. Trump signed his name on the front. That's the big difference.
Yeah, how much is Biden worth? He's had a government job his whole life.
50-some years. Yeah, he's corrupt.
Well, how much is he worth?
I don't know. You can Google his net worth. It's more than he's more than he ever earned. Christopher Wray, all these guys. You look, in the 8 of the 10 generals that were in the 10 years in Afghanistan, 8 of them work for the Defense Department. They go from being a general to the Defense Department. They got the Rolodex. Then who's going to order rockets and missiles and tanks?
Yeah.
It's a big con.
I just want the people who support Ukraine, flying the Ukraine flag and all. You never see them fly the American flag, well, in a lot of cases.
I asked one of our village bigwigs if he's got a Ukrainian flag in his yard. If I said if Biden declares war and we have to go there, are you going to go there? Or are you just going to stand by your sign? Are you going to put the uniform on, put the boots on, and start shooting? That's what I want to know.
But I've said this until my face turned blue, my fat head turned blue.
Fat head.
People don't think things through. People aren't doing any critical thinking. You know, they'll get a flag and they'll put it out there because their next door neighbor has it. You heard it on the news. It's terrible. Invading Ukraine. What would and NATO is what? The next town over? The next country over?
Poland.
What would happen if Russia put troops in Mexico? What would we do? What did we do when they put troops in Cuba?
That's my point.
Nobody's looking at it from the Russian standpoint. That's just my 2 cents.
And your point about nobody looking to end this.
NATO's agreement when the Berlin Wall came down, NATO's agreement with the Warsaw Pact before they disbanded was they wouldn't move further east than a certain point, and they're way the hell past that point now, NATO. And what the hell is the point of NATO in the first place? They were formed to combat or to offset Warsaw and the Soviet Union. Neither one exists anymore. Why is NATO still there?
It should be disbanded along with the UN.
I'm just saying. I'm throwing it out there for discussion.
I agree. I mean, it's an archaic alliance that should be disbanded.
But I just wish a lot of people in this country would come to that point and then maybe think about it a little further before you throw the flag out there. Look behind the scenes, see if you can, do a little bit more investigation. Find out about the NATO treaty with the Kremlin back in the day, back in 1990 or whatever it was. And just think about it, you know, and think about why we're spending billions with our debt on arms shipping to Ukraine. Why?
And it's not a democracy.
And why aren't we sending one peace mission over there?
Good point.
Why not one diplomat is being tapped on the shoulder and say, go see if we can resolve this?
There's more money.
We're just shipping arms there.
There's more money in conflict than there is in peace.
Just saying, you got to think things through.
It's not a democracy. You know, Zelensky about a year ago sold his 3.2 million villa in Italy.
Who?
Zelensky.
Oh. Well, he was an actor before he was president. Yeah. I've heard that story before.
Yeah, I don't think it's a democracy. I don't think. Are we going to destroy our economy? I feel sorry for these people being killed by the Russians. But are we going to destroy every time the world gets in trouble, everybody looks for America to bail them out?
Well, this is the point. I am dead set against Russia going into Ukraine.
I am too.
I'm just saying you got to critically think why they did. And why is NATO right behind Ukraine? And why are they even in existence? You know, think these things before you jump on some bandwagon because your next door neighbor has a flag. That's all I'm asking you to do. It's not a big, it's not a big ask.
Think it out.
Yeah, think it through.
I don't think we should destroy our economy to save the Ukraine. They're a corrupt country.
Well, not to be antithetical to your points, and your points are well taken, but I'm still optimistic about this country, the best country in the world. Someone's going to come along and pull us the fuck out of here.
I hope you're right, and I hope I'm wrong. I only got a few more years. I'm 76. I got 4, 5, 6 years, maybe 10. But Vic says you got a lot of time. But I hope I'm wrong.
You might be like me. You got more time than you want.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I got nephews and friends that have children. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I hold fast to the optimism.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm a realist.
I don't know if we're still that shining city on the hill anymore, but we're still the best shining city in the world.
We need a good conservative in there to straighten out this corruption and to straighten out this country. We need a George Washington.
I'll take a liberal if he can straighten it out. I don't care what
want
the
you
hell
to,
his political stripe is, as long as he's an actual leader.
the difference between liberals and conservatives, liberals see the world like they would like it to be. Conservatives see the world as it is. A liberal, if a conservative wants to be a vegetarian, they just stop eating meat.
Hmm.
If a liberal wants to be a vegetarian, they want to kill butchers. They're cuckoo. They're rabid, insane people. You can't do
Well,
that. You can't kill butchers.
there's good people with every political stripe, which is why I'm optimistic.
Okay.
You hang on to that, huh?
I'll,
I'll tell you what,
I'll,
I'm going to buy you a Guinness draft right after this podcast,
If-
and you think you have nothing to look forward to.
well, I mean, on the short term, I do.
Well, I appreciate you coming by tonight, Mr. Manzi.
It was my pleasure.
Third
That's
time's a
it.
charm, you know.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you on tape or off tape.
God bless you, lad. And we'll see you again on the Gritty Hour soon, hopefully.
I hope you do.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night, sir.
Thank you, sir.